This is Akil Robertson with your RETV This Day in History moment. Jesse Jackson is an American civil rights activist and minister. He was born as Jesse Louis Burns on October 8, 1941, to a 16-year-old student named Helen Burns out of wedlock. Jesse's biological father was their 33-year-old neighbor named Noah Lewis Robinson, who was married to someone else. His mother married Charles Henry Jackson, who legally adopted Jesse, but Jesse remained close to both of his biological and adoptive parents. He grew up in a time of strict racial segregation, went to an all-black school, and was often taunted by other children for being born out of wedlock. However, he was a bright and active child and was elected president of the student body and was active in many sports. He graduated from high school in 1959 and was offered a contract by a professional minor league baseball team. However, he chose to accept a football scholarship to the University of Illinois, which was a predominantly white school. Less than a year later, he transferred to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical College, where the majority of the student body was black. Here, he played as quarterback on the football team and was again elected president of the student body. Anti-discrimination sentiment was at an all-time high, and Jackson became an active participant in civil rights protests against racial segregation. Jackson graduated from college with a degree in sociology in 1964. He came to the national attention when he began working with Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. He helped to organize protests and marches and was soon given a role in running the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, and later made the head of Operation Breadbasket and an economic forum of the Chicago branch of the SCLC's operations that focused on job placements for African Americans that boycotted white businesses in an attempt to convince them to hire black workers. In 1962, he married Jacqueline Lavina Brown, whom he had met at a civil rights protest, with whom he has 5 children. In 1966, the family moved to Chicago, where Jackson studied at the Chicago Theological Seminary and was later ordained by the minister. He continued to work with Martin Luther King and was at the scene when Dr. Luther was assassinated. After King's death, Jackson was at odds with many leaders in the SCLC and officially resigned in 1971. He then founded Operation Push, People United to Save Humanity, to help blacks be economically independent. In 1984, he established the National Rainbow Coalition, which aimed for equal opportunities for African Americans, women, and homosexuals. Push and NRC later merged to form a coalition. Jesse Jackson began to travel extensively to highlight and solve racial disputes. He visited South Africa to speak against apartheid, the Middle East to show support for Palestine, and Haiti to back their democratic efforts. In 1984, he ran for U.S. president and received 3 million votes, and then again in 1988, this time gaining 7 million votes. He wasn't successful in the presidential elections, but served as a shadow senator for the District of Columbia in 1991 to 1997. Jackson has continued to lobby for civil rights and racial equality, but his public and private life have been marred by several controversies. For instance, he has been known to make derogatory remarks about Jews and also about the U.S. President Barack Obama. He apologized in both instances, but his public image has suffered. In 2000, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Clinton. Again, this is Akil Robertson with your RETV This Day in History moment.